الخامس له عن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشبر وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم وصيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الخلود. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الخلود. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الخلود. وثبت في طلب صدق عندك مع الحسين واصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا وجههم دون الحسين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Shall we proceed with the recitation of the Holy Quran? Please welcome Sisters Tawhida and Rashida with the Rab Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next we have some of the sisters who will be presenting a poem. Please welcome Sister Fiswa, Sister Zainab, and Sister Zainab with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
From Karbala to Sham, Ashura, grief, bloodshed, trampled bodies. There was nothing to comfort the children, not even a cool breeze. Imam Hussein's bones have been crushed. On the dry ground his body lies. The Kafirs have broken their promise. From the heavens Fatima cries. After trampling on Imam Hussein's chest, the tyrants rush towards his tents. But do not be afraid, Zainab is in control of the events. The sky is red, the tents are set alight, the yatim are lamenting, they are being deprived of their right. The land shook with anger when Ali Yassin's dignity was robbed. When the angels saw how the enemy was vicious, they all screamed and sobbed. In the middle of chaos, Lady Zainab stood facing the Qibla, praying Salatul Layl, showing her devotion to Al-Fadda. The captives have chains on their hands, neck, and feet. Their bodies were so tired that they tilted in defeat. Baba, come back to me, Baba. This is what Ruqayya sighed. Then she was beaten without any respite. In her pain she cried, do you think the misfortunes of the al-Bayt are all done? Then let me tell you that the journey of tears have only just begun.
Zainab whispered, "Oh Baba, you're now entering the city of Kufa that you once ruled, but its leader has changed and its people are now cruel. Under the stare of hypocrites, the pure family was led to Ibn Ziyad's palace hall."
Like her mother at Fadak, Lady Kulthum stood proud and tall. Woe unto you, she called out to the Kafirs in a voice they couldn't ignore. She made the people cry like they never did before. The tale of sorrow I will continue to recite. From city to city, the holy faces were exposed in the daylight, and were expected was what they sought in Sham. Asham, Asham, Asham. The city looked joyful that the travelers started to wonder. Was it a day of Eid for there to be so much color? The heads on the spears were paraded until Yazid's fortress. At their arrival, Yazid laughed at Ali Muhammad's distress.
"O son of the freed slave," Zainab suddenly called out. Silence rose as everybody tried to analyze the shout. Imam Zainal Abidin then presented himself like never before. Everybody was listening, including the earth's core, he said.
I am the grandson of Mecca and Mina. I am the grandson of Zamzam and Safa. I am the grandson of the one who fought at Badr and Hunayn. I am Ali, son of Hussein. Yazid wasn't like this before. He had gone all pale. His first order after he recovered was send them to jail. In the night, Ruqayya wouldn't go to bed. The evil Yazid commanded to give her Hussein's head. As Hussein's daughter discovered what's under the covered bowl, Israel appeared out of nowhere and freed the innocent girl's soul. Yazid was so afraid that he let Hussein's beloved go. They first returned to Karbala to let their tears flow. This lady's sacrifice shouldn't be in vain. It's our duty to keep alive the legacy of Hussein. Wake up, Shaf Ali. Majalis and Hussein need your support. Our mosques are left empty. What will you say in Allah's court? Let's pledge allegiance as if we were standing in Bayn al-Haramain. Labbaika ya Hussein.
Labbaika ya Hussein, Labbaika ya Hussein, Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Very nice. For all the marhum mu'mineen, the mu'minat, the ulama, the shuhada, those who are no longer among us, as always, the shuhada of Palestine, of Lebanon, of Iraq, of Yemen, of Sham, of Hijaz, of Afghanistan, of Kashmir, Pakistan, and elsewhere, let us remember them with a Surah Al-Fatiha. Next we have Brother Hadi, who will be presenting a short poem. Please welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, we'll continue with the lecture by our respected guest scholar, Sheikh Jafar. Please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Just some water. Yeah, just one. No problem. Just let me make an announcement.
Apologies, just a reminder that there is a children's program going on in the classroom at the end of the hallway for kids ages 10 and under. And then the toddlers room is also available for moms with small children, where the live stream of the program is going on simultaneously. So inshallah, we can all benefit from the program in a calm manner. The salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Just break it up. Just like this. A little bit. Okay. Again, for the well-being of the community, another salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And final salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for the hastened reappearance of Imam al-Zaman Jafar al-Sharif. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله عليك يا مولاي صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي صلى الله عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم صلى الله عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليكم جميع شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته وعظم الله أجورنا وأجورك يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان يا سيدي ومولاي. Tonight is the night of Tasu'a. The night in which, subhanAllah, we see one camp is in the ibadah and worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we read it in Ziyarah to Ashura, and subhanAllah, is perhaps the way it is expressed in that ziyarah is simply for us to at least bear that event that was happening. يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان. That they were happy. Of course, it's about the aftermath of Karbala. But in fact, on the night of Tasu'a, that camp was partying. It was not simply that they were happy, that they were celebrating that what will happen tomorrow in Ashura. This is a night of both ibadah, a night of mourning as well. As we see, even as it's recommended among the al-Bayt as well, that this is a night that definitely we make tawassul with the al-Bayt. And our hajat, inshallah, will be granted. It's a night that we also mourn that what is to happen tomorrow, the day of Ashura. So it's not much of a lecture that I will give tonight, but since tomorrow we will not mention any of what we stated, so just simply a few minutes just to conclude our discussion for this sacred month of Muharram. Of course, our focus is on verse 38 of Surah Al-Ra'd, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He stated that He has sent prophets before, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. And we gave to those prophets families, wives and children. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. Wives and children. That inshallah, the objective is that perhaps they will be a part of that mission. And of course, if we look at tonight, it is a night for the family, a night for the Ahlul Bayt in Karbala. If we want to just simply and quickly summarize or conclude our lectures, there's one hadith I'll give you from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That pretty much concludes everything. And that hadith from Rasulullah is particularly about Akhir Zaman, the end of time, and how, again, families will be able to save themselves. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara." That save yourself and your family. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us 4 advice that do these things, and inshallah, you will safeguard your family. The first, he says, "Waf'alu khayra." And pretty much he's speaking to the parents, but of course we make that go on generation after generation. Waf'alu khayra. That do good. Lead by example. As parents, as elders in our community, we have to lead by example. وَافْعَلُوا خَيْرًا. وَذَكِّرُوهُمْ بِاللَّهِ. Second thing, he says, and remind them, meaning remind your children, remind the younger generation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make sure that we are creating spaces like this, that they are reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the space shouldn't simply be within our masjid, it should be in our homes, it should be a part of our life. The third thing, third and fourth, that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he recommended, he's advising us, he says, وَأْمِرُوهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So third, to enjoying good. Enjoying good. One example that we gave from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, that he would tell his Ahlul Bayt, Ya Ahlul Bayt al-Nubuwwa as-salat, as-salat. So enjoin them for what is right and discourage them from what is wrong. Help them to abstain from that. And of course, that goes back to that first advice, as the Prophet says, he says, "If'alu khaira," that you yourself, in your own practice, in your own life, be that example for the next generation. So these are the four things that sums up the lectures. But of course, as well, I want to give two more things, which are simply action items. Of course, because in the very beginning, some were saying that, well, how do we actually do this? What can we do? And so these are the two action items that you can add to those four advices from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is to, first, to read the treaties of rights, so that the women, the wives, they know their rights, they know their husband's rights, they know their children's rights. The husbands know their rights, they know the rights of their wives, they know the rights of their children. The children read that Risala al-Hukuk of Imam Zain al-Abidin, so that they know their rights, so that they know their parents' rights, and understand what are those hukuk. But also, as we stated, that those hukuk, those rights, we don't just want to have a family that's just very rigid on those rights, but we have to add into it akhlaq, ethics. And subhanAllah, just as we have that Risala al-Hukuk of Imam Zain al-Abidin, alayhi salatu wasalam, that as well, if we go to the du'as of Imam Zain al-Abidin, alayhi salatu wasalam, we'll come across two du'as. And I recommend these two du'as. That if we really want those action items, this is the second action item. Read dua 24 and 25 of Sahifat al-Sajjadiyya. Dua 24 of Sahifat al-Sajjadiyya is a dua that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi wasallam made for his parents. Again, yes, a dua for his parents, but in the duas of Imam Zain al-Abidin, he's teaching us how to interact. We want to add that akhlaq to those hukuk. Again, the hukuk written by Imam Zain al-Abidin, the akhlaq of those hukuk is in the du'as of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Dua 25 of Sahifat al-Sajjadiyya is the dua that Imam Zain al-Abidin made for his children. So the children should read dua 24 for their parents. Parents should read dua 25 for their children. But at the same time, that action item should be such as well that, again, the parents, the children, the community come, sit down, read these things together, understand them, reflect upon them. And as I said, there's a lot of things here. Of course, in the majalis, you can only give but so much. And I know there may be some questions here, there about certain details, about maybe certain exceptions to some of the things I said. Yes, I have to be very broad in general, but in some cases, depending on what that case is and what the dynamics are, yeah, there may be some exceptions to certain things or certain rules. But those two action items are a start. Read the Risala al-Hukuk, read these du'as of Imam Zain al-Abidin. And just as a tabarruk, in Dua 24, the dua that we will recite for our parents, just to understand a bit of that akhlaq. In the very beginning, the Imam, he teaches us this part. He says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali. And first, the salutations upon the Prophet and his household. Salawat. Then we pray, وَأَلْهِمْنِي عِلْمَ مَا يَجِبُ لَهُمَا عَلَيَّ إِلْهَامًا. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to our parents that, Ya Allah, that teach me, guide me towards those things which I need to understand about my parents, their rights over me, what I need to do towards my parents, my duty, my responsibility, the ethics. And that ethics comes out also in the fifth line of that dua, dua 24, for the parents. And what is that? It says, Allahumma ja'alni. Allah, make me, shape me, fashion me in which way towards my parents? Abarruhuma birral umma ru'uf. Subhanallah. that I interact with my parents, how? Like a mother who is kind and merciful to her own children. In other words, that kindness that I show towards my parents should be that same kindness as a mother. Again, the mother is an example here. The rahmah that a mother has. That when I interact with my parents, whether it's my mother, whether it's my father, to have and to embody that rahmah of a parent, of a mother. And I'll just remind you of that poem of Rabab. That when Rabab, she made that poem, she wrote that poem for Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. What did she say? She said that Imam Hussein, he interacted with us, meaning his al-Bayt, rahimul walidain. That his kindness towards his family was like the kindness that a parent would show to their children. And here, as children, we should also embody that kindness that our parents show to us and show it back to them. One of the very beautiful, interesting stories, and this is one of the stories that Ajabi Qira'ati he also told. Again, those who know Farsi and they can look up the clip, they should look at it in Farsi because, as they say in Farsi, khayli mazidare. The way he tells it and the way he expresses it, very beautiful the way he expresses. And it's one of those hadiths that sometimes we only hear part of the hadith. And that hadith is that when one man, he put his mother on his back, elderly mother, very elderly mother. She couldn't walk. He put his elderly mother on his back and he took her to Hajj. And he started, he's making tawaf. And when he finishes tawaf, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also finishes tawaf and he goes to Rasulullah. He gives his salams, he gives his greeting. The Prophet of Allah asks him how is he and how's his family. He says, oh, I'm good. And he says that, my mother, she can't walk, she can no longer walk. So I carried her on my back all the way here to Mecca, and then I carry her and make the tawaf. Then he asks, he says, Ya Rasulullah, have I fulfilled the rights of my mother? And there are multiple answers. One of the answers that we commonly hear says, the Prophet says, no. He says, you know what? Why? Because your mother, when she carried you and she expected and hoped the best for you. That once she carried you for those 9 months and you were born, that she expected the world of you, your life, and that you will continue to live. He says, your mother is elderly, you're carrying her, and you know that, oh, well, one day she's going to pass away and I won't be carrying her. He says, so even that expectation, so he says, no, you haven't fulfilled the right for your mother. That part that Ajur Karati tells in this clip, he was like, then the Prophet of Allah also, he says that, and yes, you haven't fulfilled your mother's right. Yeah, his mother was a widow. And he was like, what? What is that? Then the Prophet of Allah, he says, get her married. This guy was like, what? He's like, get her married. She can't even walk. And the way Karati tells her, he says, the mother was like, be quiet. Do you know better or does the Prophet of Allah know better? Yeah, perhaps in that situation, yes, maybe he went out and he's working, no one's at home, his mother's at home. So she needs companionship. She needs someone to sit and she needs someone to talk with. Don't think that, oh, hey, she's early or this is strange. No. It just shows you this importance of family and importance of kinship, the importance of companionship, no matter how old we are. We are elderly, we are younger. This is the family value that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdal wasalam that they are instilling within us. In the 25th dua, just about very quickly, the third line of this dua, subhanallah. You can read the whole thing. But the third line, this is one of the lines I love of this dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we pray for our offspring, for our children, وَجَعَلْهُمْ أَبْرَارًا أَتْقِيَا. بصرا سامعين مطيعين لك ولأوليائك محبين مناصحين ولجميع أعدائك معاندين ومبغضين آمين. Subhanallah. The traits and the qualities that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to instill in our children. That, oh Allah, make them pious, make them religious, make them righteous, وَأَتْقَيَا, make them God conscious, muttaqeen, having taqwa. And perhaps most importantly, make them busara, give them insight. Not simply that they're following the deen and, oh, well, we follow it just because. No, that basira, and unfortunately we don't have time to go into that. That basira means to give them understanding, wisdom, to understand their deen, to understand the value of this way of life, to understand the value of the Quran, to understand the value of the teachings of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhi wa sallam. And more importantly, Allahumma salawat. To understand that value and understand how to apply it to their life at every moment in time. Make them, Ya Allah, those individuals who not only hear your commands and prohibitions, sami'een, but make them obedient to those commands and prohibitions, muti'een. Make them among the lovers of your awliya, wali awliyaika muhibbeen. Make them among those individuals who stand firmly against your enemies. That if they are the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they are enemies of the al-Bayt, that you stand firm. Doesn't mean that you're unkind, doesn't mean that you slur slangs at them or bad words at them. That wasn't the characteristics or trait of the Ahlul Bayt, but you don't waver in your position on truth and haqq. This is what that means. But I will say that, especially that trait where it says, Wali awliyaika muhibbeen. That's very important. To raise your children as lovers of Ahlul Bayt. Never let that light and that love extinguish in their heart. And I say this because, sometimes we face difficulties. Maybe the young people will face difficulties. Sometimes they may get off track here and there. But if they have that love for Ahlul Bayt in their heart, it will guide them back to this path. One of the very rich businessmen in Tehran, he went to one of the ulama, not just any alim, this one arif. And he was known for, again, his du'as and again, his ibadah. So this individual, he went to this scholar. He said, you know what, I have a brother. He says, and this brother of mine, he's involved in all kinds of mischief, debauchery. He says, there's probably nothing that you can name that he didn't do, and he's not involved in. He says, even at one point we thought, you know what, let me get him married. Finally found somebody who married, but he's still involved in those things. So he asks this treasurer, he asks this businessman, he says, can I bring him to you and you give him some advice? So scholar, he says, he reflected a little bit, he says, if you bring him to me, he says, what good is it going to do? He says that if he's involved in all of these things, stop listening, whatever you've tried, that nothing has worked. He says, you bring him before me? He says, even if I say something to him, even if I give him advice, he said, what good is it? So this businessman reacts, he says, it has to be something. What can I do? So this alim, he said, take him to Karbala. Take him to Karbala. He says, and once you take him to Karbala, take him to the haram of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, and see what happens. He said, if his heart is hardened even after going to Karbala, being in that place where Imam Hussein, he made that sacrifice. He said, at that point, there's no hope. But if you take him to Karbala and you see that he's changed, that his heart is softened, that there's still some love for the Ahlul Bayt in his heart. He says, at that point, you bring him back, you bring him to me. He says, and then I can give him advice. He said, then that advice will touch his heart. But without that, there's no hope. Later, this businessman, after he came back, he mentioned that, with everything he tried to get his brother to go. His brother didn't want to go on his own accord, but then he told his brother, and his brother was like a gangster. He says, look, I have a lot of wealth and I'm busy, so I need somebody to protect me. Just be my bodyguard. When you come, I'm going to go to Karbala, I'm going to make ziyarah, I'm going to take some money with me to give. He says, you come along with me, even if you don't want to make ziyarah, just come as my bodyguard. So his brother was like, okay, yeah. This gangster, tough guy. He says, okay, I'll go as your bodyguard. So they go. In this business where he comes back, he's talking to this guy. He tells him what happens. He says, what happened to you, brother? He says, well, when we went, he says, we were in the courtyard, Bain al-Haramain, and we're walking towards the haram of Imam Hussein. He says, he still seems to be a very hard person, not changed. He says, but as soon as we stepped over the threshold into the haram of Imam Hussein, he said, I saw his face change. He dropped his head. And by the time we reached to the zari of Imam Hussein, he began to weep like a baby. He began to weep like a mother who just lost her child. He says, and then and there, I asked my brother, he says that, since you still have this love for Imam Hussein, you have this love for the Ahlul Bayt, make your commitment that you will not return back to that life that you had before this. When he told this Alim that, he says, okay, fine, bring your brother now. But this business where he says, there's no need. He committed, he's a completely different person. So we see that as Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he says in it, that raise your children, the awliya'ika muhibbin, that they have love of the Ahlul Bayt in their hearts. That love that we see as well between the Ahlul Bayt. Antaswa. That love that was expressed, knowing that what will happen tomorrow on the day of Ashura. One example of that is that interaction between Imam Hussein and Zainab al-Kubra, that Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he narrates, he says that this is what was happening on that night. He says, although I was in and out of consciousness, he says, but I heard this interaction. I heard that my father, at one point, he was reciting a poem. And what was that poem? And he kept repeating it. As Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he says, he repeated it and repeated it, that I memorized this poem. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he says, Ya dahara Uffin lakin min khalil. Oh, time passes by. Oh, time, oh, passing and fleeting time. You have no friends worthy of you. You continue on, and no one remains behind with you. That time waits for no one, everyone. That one people pass away from this world, but time remains. They said Zainab Kubaraya. She also heard Imam Hussein repeating this poem. And she goes to Imam Hussein. She couldn't control herself. She couldn't contain herself. She said, Ya akhi, wa ya qurrata ayni, layta al-mawtu a'damani. She goes to Imam Hussein. She says, will I lose another brother? I wish that I had died before this day. For my mother, Fatima, and my father, Ali, and my brother, Hassan, have all passed away. She knew that this statement of Imam Hussein, that time has no friend, no one remains with time, that he is talking about himself, that tomorrow he will no longer be in this world. He said Imam Hussein, he tried to comfort Zainab Kubara. He pulled her close to him. He said to Zainab, أختاي لا يذهبن بحلمك الشيطان فإن أهل السماء يموتون وأهل الأرض لا يبقون. He says, oh my sister, all people on earth someday will die. All will return to their Lord by and by. My grandfather was better than me and he died. My father was better than me and he died. My mother was better than me and she died. He says, Ya Zainab, be patient, that what will happen will happen. They said Zainab Kubra, at that moment she fainted. And when she came to, she said, Ya akhi, هذا كلام من أيقن بالموت. Oh my brother, you've spoken words to me for as someone who is certain that they will die. And he said to Zainab Kubra, نعم يا أختي. He said, yes, I'm certain that tomorrow will bring death to me. Tomorrow will bring death to anyone who stands alongside of me. Then Zainab Kubra, she said, إِذَا فَرُدَّنَا إِلَى حَرَمِ جَدِّنَا. She says, so take us back to Medina. I wish we were back into Medina, that we were beside our grandfather. At that moment, Imam Hussein giving a farewell to the women in that camp. He says, and he calls out, Ya Zainab, Ya Kulthum, Ya Fatima, Ya Rabab, إذا قتلت فلا تشققنا علي جيبا. He said to them, he says, try not to tear your clothes, try not to cry too much, try not to grieve too much. But how could they not grieve that when Imam Hussein, when he will pass away from this world? And how could Zainab not grieve when she saw what she saw until Zainab, when she saw her brother give his final breath? They say Imam Hussein, he also gathered his companions on this night, calling them to give them farewells, to give them some advice. They said that he glorified God, the most perfect glorification. I praise him, as he said in glad tidings, and in the worst of situations. In the words of Imam Hussein, إني أحمدك على أن أكرمتنا بالنبوة وعلمتنا القرآن ولم تجعلنا من المشركين. He says, oh Allah, I thank you for blessing my household with prophethood and making our understanding of the Quran so good and keeping us far from the polytheist falsehood. I know of no followers who are more loyal than mine. I know of no household more bound together so tight, as he said and praising Allah. لا خيرا من أصحابي ولا أهل بيت أبر. That is Ahlul Bayt who is with him in Karbala. The companions that are with him in Karbala, the best of family, the best of companions. And then Imam Hussein, as he tells to his companions on that night, he turns out the light, they blow out the candles. He tells them, I give you permission to leave. You're free from your oath, for there is no further need. There will be no more growth. There's no more to give to you, for this is the end. They only want me, this army, they only want me. So you may flee without sin. If you leave me tonight, O my companions, my Ahlul Bayt, it will not be held against you. Use this night like a camel and ride away on its back. For tomorrow we die when these soldiers attack. The response from the camp were various responses. Some say that we will die and we're willing to give our lives 70 times, to be cut into pieces 70 times. Some desire to fight and be martyred so much that they said that death is sweeter than honey. But all in all, this was their words. لا نفارقك أبدا. We will never leave you. We will never leave you, oh Master. Oh Sayyidina. They said at one point, Imam Hussein, he turned to the children, to the family of Aqil. He told them, he says, Ya Bani Aqil, Hasbukum min al-qatli bi-muslim. All the children of Aqil, all the family of Aqil, is it not enough that your patriarch, that Muslim, he gave his life? That in Kufa, he was left alone and surrounded, he was beheaded, his body was dragged through the streets of Kufa. Is that not enough? That you may go. There's no need for you to stay. Your family has made its sacrifice. The children of Aqil, the sons of Aqil who were there, they said, قَبَّهَ اللَّهُ الْعَيْشَ بَعْدَكَ يَا سَيِّدِي وَمَوْلَاي. He said that what type of life would be for us? That if we saw that you were dead, that if we saw you martyred, and we lived after you, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Sayyidina, that what life would we have if we lived then? This is similar to what we read in the Ziyarat al-Ashura. That we are what? Harbun liman harabakum wasilmun liman salamakum. We are with war. We are at war with those who are at war with you. That anyone who stands against you, Ya Aba Abdullah, that we are against them. And anyone who's willing to make peace, anyone who's willing to be on your side, Ya Aba Abdullah, that we will be on their side. But what happened on the day of Ashura in the land of Karbala, there was no one to make peace with Hussein. There was no one to make peace with Aba Abdillah. Even after all of the shuhada, they were martyred. They had their bodies were on the plains of Karbala. Imam Hussein, he looked to the army of Ubn ibn Sa'd. He says, don't you know that I am the son of Fatima? Don't you know that my dua is answered? That if you leave me now, I will make dua that Allah forgives you for all of these atrocities, that you've killed everyone. This is even after they had killed Ali Asghar, but they refused, they rejected. Even one Ma'in, subhanallah, looked at where he even rejected this mercy from Imam Hussein. They said after Imam Hussein, he had fallen onto the plains of Karbala, and Shimr al-Na'in sat upon his chest. He told Shimon al-La'in, he says that, look, my body has already taken its toll. My body is full of arrows. I've been sliced and I've been cut from every place. I'm going to die. I'm leaving this world. But why do you have to do what you're going to do? Why do you have to take my head at this moment? Leave me at this moment, and even I will make dua for you, that Allah forgives you for your atrocities. And this La'in, he said on the chest of Imam Hussein, he did not take this offering, and then he did his evil deed. They said that in that moment, as some of the ulama, they said that not many people, they could bear that. This is why the shuhada, they all went before Imam Hussein, that they wouldn't see that what happened to Imam Hussein, that how Shimr al-La'in, how he took the head of Imam Hussein, that usually when you do a slaughter, you go from the front, but his head was cut from the back. Yes. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. يا حسين، يا حسين.
Sisters, there's a request for the sisters to move forward so that there's space for those who are in the back. If you could move slightly forward. Ya Hussein. 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 Ya Hussein.
How long I long for Karbala, someone you lay on Haramain. How long I long for Karbala, someone you lay on Haramain. As soon as I reach you, I'll well and see you. Lain al Haramain, so don't you blame me if I go crazy when Zainab raised me, Sakina trained me, mourning for saints, oh Lord is Zainab, Amir Zainab, wa na'am Amira, wa na'am Amir. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me daughter of Hussein, Sakina. After a few years, Yasima, mother of Hussein, Fatima, watches over this arena. When her neck was struck with a sword, Hussein, Husseina, Fatima shed tears. And when her head was separated, Hussein, Husseina raised on the spear. And when the hand of your brother came back with no water, Namu Abbas said, final farewell to Hussein, his master. Karbala, how did you greet him? Karbala, how did you greet him? And when he fell, how did you meet him? And when Hussein needed the water of the May, why won't you feed him? Of the May, why won't you feed him? I'm calling Hussein now, beating my chest to ease the pain. I'm calling Hussein now, beating my chest to ease the pain. Ain't no Haramain now, I'll lose my books calling your name. Ain't no Haramain now, I'll lose my books calling your name. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Leave me there.
और दिल गिर गया फातिमा ज़हरा सल्लल्लाहु सलाम पे या फातिमा ज़हरा सल्लल्लाहु सलाम पे या फातिमा ज़हरा आए हैं पुरसे के लिए फातिमा ज़हरा अब्बास जो लश्कर के थे सरवर के अलम अब्बास जो लश्कर के थे सरवर के अलम दरिया पे उन्हें बदल गया फातिमा ज़हरा सल्लल्लाहु सलाम पे या फातिमा ज़हरा सल्लल्लाहु सलाम पे या फातिमा ज़हरा हम आए हैं पुरसे के लिए फातिमा ज़हरा कानों से सकीना के उतारे गए रोज़ कानों से सकीना के उतारे गए रोज़ ज़ैनब की भी छीनी है रिदा फातिमा ज़हरा सल्लल्लाहु सलाम पे या
لبیک یا حسین یعنی در مرکه تا پای جان بمان بگذر از سر لبیک یا حسین یعنی نعش پسر یعنی در این بگاه صبر مادر یعنی باور کنی کربلا یعنی تا بری تن آن یعنی باور کنی کربلا یعنی تا بری تن آن یعنی بیعت کنی با شهادت یعنی صبر جمیل بر مصیبت یعنی بیعت کنی با شهادت یعنی صبر جمیل بر مصیبت بشنوی دل هر منموری می آید کرب و بلا بشنوی دل هر منموری می آید کرب و بلا لکن لبیک یبن زهرا آشورایی لبیک ما لکن لبیک یبن زهرا آشورایی لبیک ما لبیک لکن لبیک یبن زهرا آشورایی لبیک ما لکن لبیک آشورایی لبیک ما لبیک یا حسین لبیک یا حسین لبیک یا حسین یا سارالله لبیک یا حسین یا حسین یا سارالله هم عهدی با شهید عهد ما با خدا هم عهدی با شهید عهد ما با خدا منهم من ینتظر تقدیر ما هم عهدی با شهید عهد ما با خدا منهم من ینتظر تقدیر ماست میخوانیم ربنا ثبت اقدامنا تقدیر دشمنا شمشیر ما میخوانیم ربنا ثبت اقدامنا تقدیر دشمنا شمشیر ماست لبیک یا حسین حسرت ماست لبیک یا لبیک یا حسین حسرت ماست لبیک یا لبیک یا حسین حسرت ماست لبیک یا حسین حجت ماست لبیک یا حسین حسرت ماست لبیک یا حسین حجت ماست از پیکر مدام ترس ما نیست تا عهد حسین قسمت ماست از پیکر مدام ترس ما نیست تا عهد حسین قسمت ماست لکن لبیک لبیک یا حسین لبیک یا حسین لبیک یا حسین یا سارالله لبیک
फिर नई मजबूत जुदा लिखने का आज नया करते हैं सब आओ पुकाओ अशरे मजलिस खत्म हुआ फी अमान अल्लाह 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 ऐ शहीद करबला फी अमान अल्लाह ऐ शहीद करबला फी अमान अल्लाह फी अमान अल्लाह फी अमान अल्लाह फी अमान अल्लाह ऐ शहीद करबला फी अमान अल्लाह ऐ शहीद करबला फी अमान अल्लाह या हुसैन 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 या हुसैन
همه گفتن خبر اومد دیدم از تو حرم قمر اومد ای جان همه گفتن خبر اومد دیدم از تو حرم قمر اومد ای جان پر شادت سفر اومد سفر فاتح قمر اومد که شیر نری داره امام حسن که دلاوری داره امام حسین اومده علم داره امام حسن کنار علم داره امام حسین لقد بالاش ماشاءالله به روی زیباش ماشاءالله عجب میخونه بین لشکر خدای بالاش ماشاءالله لقد بالاش ماشاءالله به روی زیباش ماشاءالله عجب میخونه بین لشکر کنار بالاش ماشاءالله انگار مثل خیبر توی این بر دیده اومده نفک انگار توی پیکار شده تکرار برو روی غیبر کفار تو فرش فرمانده امام حسن نوجوان دلبنده امام حسین اگه بوده فرزنده امام حسن حالا شده فرزنده امام حسین نفر کافر ماشاءالله به آل حیدر ماشاءالله میخونه نکره بین حیدر عزیز مادر ماشاءالله لقد بالاش ماشاءالله به روی زیباش ماشاءالله عجب میخونه بین لشکر کنار باش ماشاءالله یا حسین 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 الوداع غریب کربلا 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 الوداع से तेरे जख्मों को तो सकती नहीं, अपने अश्कों से तेरे जख्मों को तो सकती नहीं, तेरे लाशे से लिपट कर बहन रो सकती नहीं, इस कदर मजबूर हूँ मैं, इस कदर मजबूर हूँ मैं, बरसरे कर वो बला अलविदा ए करबला, अलविदा ए करबला, शाम अब मैं जा रही हूँ छोड़ कर लाशा तेरा, अलविदा ए करबला, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा कर रही है बिन्ते ज़हरा आग पर गिर गए मैं, कर रही है बिन्ते ज़हरा आग पर गिर गए मैं, करबला तेरे हवाले एक मेरा भाई हुसैन, लुट के मैं तो जा रही हूँ, लुट के मैं तो जा रही हूँ, जानी पे कर वो बला अलविदा करबला, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा ऐसा कल्बे मार तुझ पे हो मेरा सलाम, ऐसा कल्बे मार तुझ पे हो मेरा सलाम, करारे जाने दर तुझ पे हो मेरा सलाम, ए सलाम आखिरी ए सलाम आखिरी आ गया वक्त विदा, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा करबला, अलविदा करबला, अपने अश्कों से तेरे जख्मों को तो सकती नहीं, अपने अश्कों से तेरे जख्मों को तो सकती नहीं, तेरे लाशे से लिपट कर बहन रो सकती नहीं, इस कदर मजबूर हूँ मैं, इस कदर मजबूर हूँ मैं, बरसरे कर वो बला अलविदा करीबे करबला, अलविदा करीबे करबला, शाम अब मैं जा रही हूँ छोड़ कर लाशा तेरा, अलविदा गरीबे करबला। روحي قلبي لديك صلى الله عليك حسين جان حسين جان حسين جان حسين جان سلم من صلى حسين سلم لمن سالمكم حسین حرب لمن حاربكم حسین حرب لمن حاربكم حسین در خانه تو در امانی پای تو تا ابد بمانی سرباز صاحب از زمانی از عرش غریب زمین میرسد ندا از عرش غریب زمین میرسد ندا از عرش غریب زمین میرسد ندا ای حق طالب و ای حق طالب و بگرد مقتول بگرد ای حق طالب و بگرد مقتول بگرد قلبی علیک روحی قلبی علیک صلی الله علیک ماه حرم امیر لشکری ماه حرم امیر لشکری صاحب علم مشیر حیدری صاحب علم مشیر حیدری نامت به هر غمی معارض عشق بگشت عشق رایج جانم ای باور حوایج جانم ای باور حوایج روحی قلبی لدیک صلی الله علیک حسین جان حسین جان حسین جان سلم لمن سالمكم حسین سلم لمن سالمكم حسین حرب حاربكم حسین حرب لمن در خانه تو در امانی پای تو تا ابد بمانی سرباز صاحب از زمانی سرباز صاحب از زمانی روحی قلبی علیک صلی الله علیک علم دار علم دار علم دار ماه حرم امیر لشکری صاحب علم مشیر حیدری ماه حرم امیر لشکری صاحب علم مشیر حیدری نامت به هر غمی وارد عشق بگشت عشق رایج جانم ای باور حوایج جانم ای باور حوایج روحی قلبی علیک روحی قلبی علیک صلی الله علیک حسین جان حسین جان حسین جان یا حسین
अरे तू रोए मैं ये
آواره شده قلبم آواره شده رفتی و برادر تو بیچاره